participant friends. So today we are to discuss some of the important, aspects relating to the meaning of education. And here in this class we are to discuss about the characteristics of the broad meaning of education. In our last class we discussed about the broad meaning of education. And for understanding education in totality, we are to discuss the specialities or the special characteristics of the extensive meaning of education. And in the last class, we led our discussions by explaining education as a means to understand life. Means when from broad parameter we try to explain the concept of education, we can define it as one of the most important processes for understanding life in totality. It is a process with the help of which transformation of ideas on elements for the safety of life and the universe is practically realized. Friends, the safety of universe has special importance for the safety of our life, for the safety of the lives of the living organisms and non-living, things on the properties of nature. There is interrelationship between our life and the greater universe. And by education in extensive way or in extensive meaning, we can mean it as one of the most important judicious understanding of the realities relating to the existence of our life and the necessity of the necessity or the demand of existence of the universe. Well, today we are to discuss about the characteristics of the extensive or broad meaning of education. And for doing so, let us see the next slide. To understand the broad meaning of education in a more detailed manner or in detailed manner, we have to know the characteristics of the broad aim of education. In the works of Lawes is a great educationist. In the wider sense, all experiences said to be educative, the bite of a mosquito, the taste of a watermelon, the experience of being caught in a storm in a small boat, all such experiences have a direct educative value on us. Means all the smallest things of this universe, we are impact on our life and we acquire education. The contact with all the elements of the great or the expansive universe, events, phenomena on the human relationships in different situations of life help us get education or acquire education. In brief, in broad sense, education manifests certain characteristics such as, let us say, number one, education is a lifelong process and it starts or begins when our life begins and education ends when our life ends. Education is a means of providing facilities to the individuals for the development of native powers or inborn powers and capabilities. Number three, education is a means of dispelling error and discovering the truth. Let us see the next one. Number four, education is a means of preparation for a good life. Number fifth, education is the natural, harmonious and progressive development of the inborn powers or innate powers of the individual. Number 6, it is a process of universal distribution of extent to knowledge. And number 7 is, it is a process of development from infancy to maturity to live life successfully. Let us see the next one. This way means depending on the specialities of the broad or extensive, you see, meaning of education, particularly on the characteristics, we can develop a holistic concept. And education has very close relationship with life. It has a relationship with society. It has a relationship with culture, all social forces which are operating or which are in operation in the society. Civilization and the process of existence of all living organisms and beings. As a social process, education helps to bring changes towards life and society as well. Education reflects the ideas that are socially recognized for the prosperity of life, culture, and advancement of civilization as well. As social values, customs, traditions, etc. differ from society to society, country to country, nation to nation, so the concept of education also differs in different parts of the world and in different phases of time. Let us say the concept of life and culture in the eastern part of the globe, especially in India, and the concept of life and culture in the western part of the world differ significantly. As a result, the concept and definitions of education differ from time to time and society to society and nation to nation of the globe. To understand the reality of the perception, we can thoroughly study the following definitions of education forwarded by some of the authors of famous literary works and philosophers, educationists, social thinkers, etc. of India. Means going back to our past, we can understand how education is explained or defined in our social situation. Let us see. We have to go back to Rig Veda, and by going to Rig Veda, we can understand the concept so much well. See, you know about all the Vedas, basically 3, and number 4 is there in later stage, it is you say Rig Veda. Education is something which makes a man self-reliant and selfless. Veda, you know about the Vedas, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Cham Veda, and we get the 4th part of our Veda in later stage. And coming back to Rig Veda, we know about the explanation or definition of education as is something which makes a man self-reliant and selfless. Then coming back to the Upanishads, we come to know that education is that whose end and product is salvation or mukti or emancipation. In the words of Panini, a well-known Hindu sage and Sanskrit grammarian who belonged to the Vedic era and authored Astadhyayi, human education means the training which one gets from nature. Means, you see, Panini, he is well known for his Sanskrit grammar, means he is a Sanskrit grammarian, and he belonged to Vedic era, and he authored Astadhyayi. He explains education as human education means the training which one gets from nature. Next, in the words of Kautilya, you know, he is a famous, you see, economist of the ancient India. Kautilya, he explains, education means training for the country and love for the nation. And let us go back to the, you see, coming back to Shankaracharya, Adi Shankara, an Indian scholar and philosopher who revived the Hindu religion, founder of Advaita philosophy, established moods all over India, and for Shankaracharya, education is realization of the self. Next, coming to Nanak, and who is Guru Nanak? You know, founder of Sikhism, who tried to put an end to religious strife, thought that God is one, whether He is Allah or Rama. Education is self-realization and service of the people. Let us go back to the next. You see, again in the words of Dayananda Saraswati, this is the explanation. He is Mula Shankara, Hindu ascetic and social reformer. Education is a means for character formation and righteous living. And coming back to Tagore, you know about Robi Tagore. He is the famous Nobel laureate. You know about 3 Nobel laureates from one of the, you see, from the remotest part of India, from now West Bengal or Bengal, that is Rabindranath Thakur or Rabindranath Tagore, and then thenceforth Amartya Sen, you can remember the name, and thenceforth going back to 1 year, you certainly know about, you see, Abhijit Bhattacharjee. These are the 3 great names, Indian names, who achieved Nobel. So, know about Gitanjali, and going back to Tagore, the herald of national ideal in education. Tagore explains, education means enabling the mind to find out the ultimate truth which emancipates us from the bondage of the dust and gives us the wealth not of things but of inner life, not of power but of love, making this truth its own and giving expression to it. Let us go back to the next slide. Vivekananda, coming back to Vivekananda, you will come to know he defined education, and I like to quote before you. Education is the manifestation of divine perfection already existing in man. For Vivekananda, education must provide life-building, man-making, character-making assimilation of ideas. And again, coming back to Gandhi, the progenitor of Order Scheme of Basic Education of 1937, you will come to know that Gandhi defined, and I like to quote before you, by education I mean an all-round regatta of the best inside the man, body, mind and the spirit. And then coming back to Aurobindo Sri, visionary poet and Indian nationalist who propounded the philosophy of cosmic salvation through spiritual evolution. He explains education, or he defines, and I like to quote before you, education is helping the growing soul to draw out that is in itself. So these are the explanations, and let us go back to the next slide. You will come to, or you will see, in the words of Radha Krishna, certainly you know so much well about Radha Krishna. He explains education as education to be complete must be human. It must include not only the training of the intellect, but the refinement of the heart and the discipline of the spirit. No education can be regarded as complete if it neglects the heart and spirit. And that's why Gandhi also said, means education is the power for the coordination of 3 important aspects of human body, that is the head, heart and hand. And for establishing superiority and for survival, we are to learn to utilize the properties or capabilities of our brain. Thenceforth, we are to realize the potentialities of our heart, and we are to understand the capacity of our hands. So friends, for Gandhi, education is one of the most important, you see, knowledge, one of the most important training for the coordination of the capacities of our brain, heart and the hands. Let us go back to the next slide. In the works of Humayun Kabir, certainly you know, Hindu poet, a great exponent of the Bhakti movement, socio-religious movement who believe in the equality of all religions, you see unity of Hindus and Muslims. Humayun Kabir explains, education is a dynamic process which in its totality changes with the changing situations on developing circumstances. Let us go back to the next slide, we will understand the other things. In the words of Zakir Hussain, you see, second Vice President, third President of India, a nationalist, education is helping the mind of the educated to realize the absolute moral and intellectual values. And coming back to Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, who was the first Prime Minister of India and architect of modern India, close associate of Mahatma Gandhi, ardent democrat internationalist, advocate of scientific method of modern technology, one of the founders of NAM. He explains education, and for your understanding, I like to quote before you that education is enabling the individual to be a producer as well as a good citizen. So friends, good citizen, these two words explain much. And education is to make us good citizen, because in this present century, which is distorted in a sense by the attack of COVID-19, we, means as a nation, particularly India, we are striving, we are trying to become one of the leader nations in the club of nations. And for doing so, our education certainly must help us to learn to coordinate our capabilities of brain, the capabilities of our heart, and the capabilities and capacities of our hands, which Gandhi proclaimed or explained in nice manner. Means education is the power of coordination of the capacities and capabilities of the brain of the human individual, heart, as well as the hands of the human individuals. So friends, in broader perspective, in a wide extensive meaning, education is the totality, the holistic concept concerning to the life of the human individual, life of the human organism from Indian perspective or from Indian ancient perspective. Thank you so much for today. The other part I will discuss with you in later stage. Thank you so much.